What is the next step that I need to do? And this next step, in order to find it, you need clarity. In order to have clarity, you need to have space. In order to have space, you need to prioritize. In order to prioritize, you need to step back. So this counterintuitive thing is like, step back. I see my priorities. I evaluate my business. Probably I get some coaching, I get some help, whatever. And then I see what is my next move. And then I continue moving. You go very, very much faster than if you try to fix everything at once.
Welcome to Startups Decoded, where we uncover what it really takes to build and scale startups. I'm Andy Walsh, founder and strategist. Each week we will bring you actionable insights and real stories. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to Startups Decoded. My name's Andy Walsh, and in this podcast we look at all things startups, anything from branding to strategy to go-to-market, culture, and today we're doing something which is very personal to me, which is around scaling without sacrifice. And like any founder would know, starting a business is not an easy thing to do. Scaling it and growing it and trying to have some semblance of sanity while you're doing that is even harder again. So today I have a guest, as always. I've got Leila Lahbabi with me today, and I'm excited about today because Leila's got such an interesting mix of skills. So first and foremost, Leila, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andy. Really happy to be with you here.
Yeah, it's a treat. And I was looking before and doing some research, and one of the things that I've just realized is that you're out of maybe 20 guests I think I've done now. I think you're the third French person that I've had on the show.
Really?
Yeah, which is great. And I think for me, a global perspective is really important. And I think as we move into a global economy, as far as resource distribution, the world is very different in many ways. So I think having that perspective is really important to look at it. But to kick it off, let's go straight into a little bit about yourself as far as your backstory, where you sort of started out, and we can sort of then follow up a little bit with around what you're up to at the moment.
Sure. So I'm probably the third French person, but maybe the first Moroccan person as well on your podcast.
Definitely the first Moroccan, and we've talked before. Yeah, I've got a soft spot for Morocco. I went and had the best time, and most amazing people. At the food, my goodness, it was so good. Anyway, let's not talk about Moroccan food for too long because it will make me hungry.
Okay, so for my backstory, I was born in Morocco, so I grew up in Morocco and started until my 18, and then I moved to Paris when I did my engineering school there, and then I started working in consulting at EY 4 years, and then I spent more than 7 years as a strategy consultant at Oliver Wyman. And this was like a linear path that I started, just following, similarly as my two older brothers who also are engineers and who went to similar path, like engineering, consulting, engineering. And then at some point I was like, not sure this is exactly what I wanted. Probably it's part of someone else. And I had a burnout, a first burnout, because I was working too much and not forgetting myself into the process. And at that point, I met Mindfulness to start managing my own stress and then broadening my perspective. And that was really interesting for me. I went for Mindfulness for stress reduction, but then I learned many other things, many other skills. And then I was like, okay, so I think I got it now. I think I know how to manage my stress. I think I know how to be efficient, how to be focused. Okay. And then I became a mom. I was like, okay, probably I haven't learned all the skills that I need to be at the same time really focused on my job and being a mom. And this is where I started my first business that was a side hustle at that time. So I was working full-time job at a strategy consulting firm, which is already really heavy and time-consuming. I was a mom, and I was a side hustler, teaching mindfulness in the weekend to people who want to reduce their stress. This is how I started entrepreneurship. And then I was like, okay, this is fun, but this is not sustainable. So I need to figure out a new way for me. I love entrepreneurship, things. And then even with my corporate job, I was like, this is not really fit for me as a mom. I cannot work full time and then take care of my business. It's just not possible. I need to find a way to be able to deliver something to the world, to have an impact, and then, bring value while also taking care of myself and also like not burning out. So this is when this journey has started. And I decided, okay, so let's be a full-time entrepreneur. I wasn't expecting that because, on LinkedIn, on different social media, there's like when you have someone who is an entrepreneur to us, I'm really like, entrepreneurship is freedom. Entrepreneurship, like you can travel the world and work from anywhere that you want. I was like, this is amazing. I want to go back to Morocco and then start working and having my online business, and everything is going to work. And I will be working remotely and I will have the time of my life. And it was the dream, right? But like dreams exist in La La Land. So I had to face the reality that we are not in La La Land. And then once I came back to Morocco and started to say, okay, I'm going to do my surfing lessons and my yoga lessons. And then I was like, if I'm not working on my business, then my business is not going anywhere. If I'm not selling, then my business won't be growing. If I'm not doing the marketing, if I'm not doing the job, if I'm not building the product, and then the reality of, I was like, I'm the chief executive officer. Like I had the reality that I was actually the chief everything officer. I was like, oh my God, this is not what I have been sold to. And this is where I was seeing, like I've to coaches, okay, like business coaches who were telling me, okay, Leila, you want to build your business. You want to scale your business. This is how you should do it. You should wake up at 7 a.m. and then you should do this. And by 10 a.m., but I have 2 little ones and then I was a mom of 2. So I skipped a part of my story to not make it that long. I was like, I cannot do this. Like it's just not possible for me to work like this. So I had to figure out a way for me to like do so I had word of mouth. You said that in English? Word of mouth? Mm-hmm. So I had my first client like this, word of mouth. I was doing coaching, strategy coaching, mindset coaching. But then if I wanted to scale, I was like, I cannot do the coaching and then do the marketing and do the sales and do everything. But I had to build something that was bigger than me. And then I was like, okay, I need to build something that is bigger than me. And I could not be the only one who's in the middle of everything. So I found out a solution for myself that is starting with my mission. What do I want to do? What do I want to bring to the world? And my mission was like, my purpose, because I have a difference between purpose and mission that we can get into that later probably. But my purpose was like to make sure that people can both have impact, the impact that they want, and be fulfilled. So this was for me, for the people I work with, for everyone. It was for me and for them, how to make that. So the first step was teaching mindfulness so that people can reduce their stress, can manage their energy and so on. And then I was like, okay, today my new mission is to bridge those two and to make sure that your strategy and your mindset fit together so that you can scale properly. And in order to do that, like your mission should attract and retain people who are able to make you scale your business so that it runs even when you're like playing with your kids or those kind of things. So I made that my mission and I built my methodology around that. And I wrote a book about this, which is called $1 Billion Purpose, How to Scale a $1 Billion Business that is purpose-based without burning out. And yeah, here I am today. To make it sure and let you ask the other questions.
It's so interesting. I feel like I could do a whole nother podcast as far as how people ended up where they are today. Like not even their startup journey, but how they got to a point in their life where they decided to build a startup, because there's so many interesting themes. And like rewinding a little bit, some of the things that you said there, you talked about having at one point there 3 jobs. You were working in strategy in consulting world. You were a mum and you had side hustle as well. And as a fellow parent, my mind starts to melt a little bit just even thinking about doing that. And my first startup, I was 33. I hadn't had my daughter at that stage yet. and I went into it fairly independent, but I had a very clear line where I went from having a full-time job, ending that job, and then starting the startup. I just jumped in, maybe naively so, but with a high level of conviction and confidence around what I wanted to do. So first, I tip my hat to you. That's amazing to be able to do that, and I can understand why it wasn't sustainable. So like within you having those different roles, like you explained a little bit there, and maybe it's connected to your purpose, which you touched on as well. What was the catalyst? Was there a moment when you were going, well, this isn't sustainable doing all three things together? Was there something bigger that was driving you? Was there a moment that happened? Like, what was ultimately the place where you felt that the startup world and being an entrepreneur was the right path, additionally to being a mum, which is in itself a full-time job as well?
So, an important time, I forgot to say that in parallel to that, I went back to school to study psychology. So I had four things at the same time. But actually, so I will answer your question. It wasn't on COVID, right? Like on COVID time, everything like shut down, and I was me, my husband, and my baby at home, and then I gave birth during COVID. So my parents were not able to see my little one. And I was like, oh, we're like, yeah, we are, right? But then I was like, I mean, what's the point, in being abroad? What's the point in being so far from my family? And one thing that hits me is like, I wanted to go back to Morocco, but I didn't want to have to work on a corporate job in Morocco. It was no go for me, completely no go for me. And I mean, you mentioned that you started your first business at 23, you said, right?
33.
33. Okay, I'm like
Yeah.
23. Okay, 33. So for parents, this we start a bit later. That started a bit later. It's more complex. I find it like personally, it was for me more complex to leave everything and start from zero because I had more responsibilities to manage. So for me, I find you really you're courageous to do it. Like I didn't have the courage to do it. And there are different kind of people. There are people who say, okay, I will leave everything and I will jump into something new and I will make it work and so on. And that this gives you a strength, and then you're sure you need to make it work. But something in my nervous system was telling me just you need to manage your nervous system, build your financial freedom first. So stay longer in your corporate job. And then once you have a bit of security or safety, then you can jump into a full-time business. So what I started doing is seeing if my mindfulness business was taken in. What do you say? Yeah, getting attraction. Getting attraction. And then if it starts getting attraction, then you can leave your job. So during COVID, a lot of people reached out to me for mindfulness. And I was like, okay, so now I'm making as much money in mindfulness than teaching mindfulness than having my full-time job. And this is where I said, okay, so probably it's time for me to focus on that. And once I started focusing on that, that was my first mission, then it expanded my ideas and it expanded what I wanted to build with it. I had no idea that I wanted to help people scaling their businesses with that, right? So I started somewhere and then it led me to somewhere else. And this is what I tell to people stop overthinking. Where should I start? When should I start? What should I start with? Just pick a thing that you love and then go for it. And when you're walking your path, then things will get clearer. And probably in 10 years from now, I'll be doing something else. I don't know. But this is how it started. It's getting my security, my safety, and then moving with it.
Yeah, and it shows a lot of, I think, emotional and business maturity to be able to listen to feedback, understand what people are actually looking for, because it's easy to have an idea and a thesis and build out a business plan. But once you start to build products or build services and hit market, quite often what you assume to be true is not the case. And you need to be actively growth hacking, validating, and getting to a point where you feel like you've got native momentum. So having that awareness is critical in those first sort of stages of a startup.
Yeah, I agree. And like imagine the pressure on it, depending on who you are, could be a good or a bad thing. So imagine that I had stopped being had stopped my full-time job without having any traction to my business and without having any revenue coming from my business. I would have freaked out first. Second, probably I would have been disaligned with my mission at some point because I was like, okay, now I don't care like about this alignment, this la la la. I just need to make money. And that, like, it could like be working a lot more than my full-time job, which was not the point at the first time, in the first place. So yeah.
It's not lost on me either. So I want to rewind, and I think that it's connected to what you were saying there, that having a startup and balancing it being a parent. And I started my business in Australia and then moved to New York. And when I came to New York for my business, which was again driven by demand from a client perspective as far as where they were, my daughter was 4 months old.
Wow.
So I had a new business that I was bootstrapping. I had a brand new baby and I was in a brand new city. And trying to make all of those three things work concurrently was an active experiment, is probably the best way that I can do it. And I think ultimately, like on paper, it looks like I succeeded, but it definitely broke me to a certain degree as well, as far as trying to balance both. And one of my rituals that I had, and I want to understand yours as well, is that I'd always leave the office by 5 and I would come home because I wanted to have a few hours with my daughter through dinner, bath time, and then getting her sort of ready for bed. But then I would go back to work and I would work really late at night. And then the inverse or the opposite rather, in the morning is how do I sort of have time with my daughter and then start work earlier and try and juggle it? And it's scheduling around being a parent and a founder and putting equal energy into both is tough. In that early stage for you of balancing that shift, what were some of the things that you tried and like how did you try and find the right balance to be able to do both?
Yeah, I always struggle with the word balance because actually it's not balance. I mean, let's face it, like we juggle with things. What I try to do is a bit like similar as what you're doing, like stopping at 5 p.m. and then starting to work once my kids are already sleeping. This is something that works well for me. But all those things, I think that you're forcing to make it work. This is why I said it's not balanced. Like you're just forcing it. It's like you make sure that you're doing it, even if you haven't finished your job, or and then you push things like, no, it's bedtime. I mean, mom, I don't want to sleep, right? I was like, yeah, but I need to work. No, it's bedtime. It was your time. No, it's bedtime. So those things, like they work, but with a certain limits. And what we forget is ourselves. We give everything. We give to kids, we give to the job, we give to the clients, and then we forget ourselves. And this is what causes burnout, right? And you feel like I'm balanced. I'm balancing everything because here I'm working, here I'm a kid. But then, and you, like, where are you here? Like, your sleep suffers because your brain is thinking about everything that you haven't done during the day because the day is too short. So all those kind of things, it's this mindfulness practices that really help me with that. Mindfulness and strategy. What I mean by that, mindfulness helped me to be more focused. So I know that in my day, I can do more things, but the right things. I don't rush, but I'm consciously choosing what is important for me and doing one thing at a time to make things move. This is something that helped me. The strategy part is with everything that we need to do as founders and as CEOs, chief everything officer of our businesses. It's less fancy said this way, a lot less fancy. I mean, we need to put priorities. So what are the actions that are driving the best results for me? And I make sure that I start with those actions at the beginning of my day. So I prioritize my day. I know that those actions, those 20% of actions brings 80% of the priorities. I start with those. And then if anything happens, if my kid is sick, if whatever can happen, like Everything can happen. You think you have a streamlined day, but it's not always working like this. School could be closed, the kids could be sick, other things can happen in our lives. At least I make sure that the most important things, I start with those in the morning. Then I leave an hour for myself. And then the rest, I know that it's just a bonus.
Yeah. And I can so relate to that. And it's interesting. I chose the word balance and you called it out there that it's not balance. And I think stepping outside of what I said, that balance is like control. If you're trying to seek control, you'll just be perpetually chasing after it and never get it and never feel like you're achieving anything. And balance is probably the same thing. So being able to turn that into something that's practical in the sense of priorities and consciously choosing what you're doing at that point in time. And I think it takes a lot of pragmatism to be able to accept that you can't do everything at once. And I've seen founders that I mentor and work with directly do the same thing, where they're trying to boil the ocean, and you don't need to do that. There's things that can drive impact. And one of the principles that I love is the Pareto principle.
Right.
And I think there's something in that, and I know it's literally not, but the fact that Pareto is very similar to the word parent. It's almost like knowing that 20% of your effort drives 80% of your results is the acknowledging that you never have control, you never have balance, but what you can do is plan your day and accept what you can and can't do. And if you make peace with that, from what I'm hearing you, is that you're able to focus on your purpose and still be motivated and continue doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. And then when your business, if you want to scale your business, or at least make your business work even in the chaos of your life, it should not depend only on you. Like if your business depends on you, if you have ups and downs, your business will have ups and downs. This is one thing that I've learned. And I'm not someone who is probably, I don't know if it's because I'm a woman or whatever, but like I have a lot of ups and downs. It's not linear at all. So if my business was like me, it would have been like a crazy business. And sometimes taking a step back and saying, I'm not my business at first, right? There is me and there is the business. And this is a really difficult distinction to do at the beginning, especially when you don't have recruited people yet, to make this distinction. But it is important because once you do it, then you can start thinking about onboarding more people. And then the batching is something that works well for me. It's like, I don't feel my week 100%. I feel my week 60%. And then I know that things will come in. But then the rest, I will find what are the things that should not be done by me. And like you said, like this Pareto rule, all those kind of things, when we are on our business and too focused and too like hands-on, it could be difficult sometimes to figure it out by ourselves. And having a mirror, like someone who's mirroring us, someone who is looking at our business from outside, help us like pinpoint those important skills to maintain for us, what we should do and what we can start delegating to make sure that our business is able to scale without us burning out in the process.
Really good advice. And I know from my own personal experience after exiting, I thought that my mental health was okay. Maybe I had moments where I'm like, okay, I'm not at my most effective, and there were flat spots. But then when I look back, I can see there were times when I was completely burnt out. I'd just spin wheels, etc. And it was only upon reflection and afterwards. So in the moment, it's easy to run on adrenaline, but you're never going to be a great sort of like thinker and innovator if you're perpetually exhausted and you don't give yourself a little bit of light and shade.
It's difficult to, I think that all founders understand a bit that, but it's difficult to put it into action, right? When you're especially a solo founder or you have a small team and you want to raise money or you have just raised money, then you said, okay, I know all that, but if I'm not working, then my business is not going to move. And we get into this, I would say, like fight or flight, freeze, like reaction to stress, to say, oh my God, I need to do things. And when I burnt out the first time, I wasn't like, oh, I'm burning out, I'm not going to do anything. I was like, give me more things to do. I need to continue to. And then they was like, Leila, stop. Really. Like, this is not helping you. And if I didn't listen, then I will have just continued. Even if I know what burnout is, even if I know what are the symptoms for others, even if I know, but like when you don't experience it, or when you don't have someone looking at you and then telling you this is probably something a bit awkward, that could be difficult to diagnose. And this is why I think it's important to listen to people around us, even if we disagree, just to check the temperature of where we are and where we're heading.
Yeah, and I would explain that as far as the market or the industry and what people read and see. Like, there's all these narratives, and I had Mike McCombie on a previous episode, and we talked about human behavior and how a lot of founders follow trends and this expectation of this textbook of you work around the clock, you sleep under your desk, you're working 7 days a week, and you have to fundraise, you have to tell everyone how much money you've raised. And there's things that become normalized for a startup. And I think there's a guilt of expectation that sort of comes with the marketplace and trying to validate yourself and just go, okay, this is my business. I'm giving it everything I've got. And people trying to be a hero. And I feel like that is almost counterintuitive to a certain degree.
It's counterintuitive and it's not helping your business, right? I mean, it's not helping yourself, it's not helping your business. The thing is, all those kind of subjects, not all founders talk about them like deliberately, especially when they're trying to raise money. Because they say, okay, if I say that I'm burnt out, or if I say that there are too many things, it means that I'm not responsible. It means I'm not able to manage this. It means, so I need to hide that. But the thing is, like, you don't have to say it. Everything is felt. And a lot of founders, they don't talk about this. And then, like, they're all burning out, and then they're all telling to others. And this is why, like, the founder to founder advice, the founder to founder mentoring, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, stop doing that to both of you. Like, stop, like, just stop that. Because they will say, no, I've never burnt out. No, I've always done this way. And like, this is not helping. This is not helping at all, because they're hiding the truth sometimes. And then the other person is listening to the advice and saying, okay, so if this person was able to scale all those kind of things and to do an exit and without even burnout and without having a big team, then I can do it. Then why I'm not doing it? So how is it going to help you anyway? Like, it's not helping. I had, one time I had a client who came to me and he was like, okay, so I started a mentorship with a more advanced founder than me. And I asked him, what should I do, like, to scale? And this other founder, he told him, okay, so for your marketing, you do this. For your finance, you do this. For your product, you do this. And then you need to recruit your head of sales. And then you need to recruit. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. Then can you tell me the next move? I don't know. It depends on your business. All those moves need to be made. Yeah, but it's not helping people. You know, telling them everything that they need to do is not helping people, because it could be overwhelming. And the thing is really going back to this Pareto, to the focus. What is the next step that I need to do? And this next step, in order to find it, you need clarity. In order to have clarity, you need to have space. In order to have space, you need to prioritize. In order to prioritize, you need to step back. So this counterintuitive thing is like, step back. I see my priorities. I evaluate my business. Probably I get some coaching, I get some help, whatever. And then I see what is my next move. And then I continue moving. Counterintuitively, you go very, very much faster than if you try to fix everything at once.
Love that thinking. It's so refreshing, because I think there's a responsibility for us in the industry to try and help reshift what has become the normal for founders as well. And I think that like you have to work hard. Like I'm not saying that that's not the case. It's not like you can do a few hours a day and become a successful founder. If someone has done that, I'd love to hear from you and prove me wrong, but that's never going to be the case. But being able to be effective and be clear of thought and know what you need to do and feel like you're making progress and achieving things, the ability to enjoy the journey is part of that as well. Like the outcome is what you're obviously working towards, but if you're not enjoying the journey, then ultimately it's going to feel like a struggle every day. And pending what drives you, is it an exit? Is it just having happiness through the job that you do? Is it being able to grow a team and work with like-minded people? People go into these things for very different reasons, but if you're not enjoying the journey, then it's going to be tough all the way through. And it's going to be tough no matter what, but it adds a whole other layer that feels like the clouds are out every day.
Absolutely. And you said two things that really trigger something. I'm going to bring that. I hear a lot of people saying you need to work hard. And I believed for so long that I needed to work hard. Then I reframed it for me. I reframed it for my clients. And I'm going to share with you this reframing because it's really helpful. I think that we need to do the hard work, not to work hard, which is completely different. And I'll explain you why. So doing the hard work is working hard. Working hard is like saying, okay, I will work from, I don't know, like 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. every day. This is working hard. But are you doing the hard work? What is the hard work? Is what is moving the needle right now? To go and face your client, to go and talk to your client, right? To go and find your market, to go and build your product. So what is right now the hard thing to do? And sometimes what I found myself doing, and also I saw this pattern on other clients, is like we work hard to avoid doing the hard work. Right? I know, I was like, and this is, I told him to my husband, I was like, okay, so today I worked really like from 8 a.m. and I'm doing this. And he was like, are you trying to tell me everything that you do to prove me that you're working hard enough? So it means that your business should be working? I was like, I think this is exactly what I'm trying to do. And unconsciously, I was like, if I work hard, because we have been told you need to work hard for your business to work. So I'm like saying, okay, so if I work hard, my business needs to work. But I didn't think if I work on the right thing. I was like, if I work hard, anything that I do on my business is moving my business forward, so I need to work hard. Right? And then it was not moving. I was working hard. I was doing a lot of things, very little results. Then I started having a mentor who helped me find the hard work. And he was like, okay, Leila, now you need to go on LinkedIn and you to find your 20 people that really can be your target clients, and then write to them. I was like, like, okay, this will take you like 30 minutes. I was like, And this is where the mindset works, right? And I was trying to say, this could be not aligned with what I'm doing because there are so many ways of doing sales, of doing marketing. Then I needed to figure out, am I not doing this because of fear that I will get rejected or whatever? Then I need to work on my fear. This is where the mindset's work appears. I need to work on my fear of what could happen. Or am I doing it because it's not aligned? And each time we are not doing the hard work and we are working hard instead, it's one of the two. Either we know because we know what we need to do. Every founder knows what he needs to do. And one day I had a mentor who tell me like, you know what the problem with you is, like, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. He doesn't say you're not working hard. He said you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And he was right. Okay, and I found two things. Either you have fears, thoughts, whatever, on the hard thing that you need to do. Either it's not aligned. It means that you need to find another solution. But faking it and saying, okay, so I will do all those kind of things, then it will get clarified. It will not get clarified. Best way to move is to face what is your next focus, is to face what is the most important thing you need to do, and then to assess, is that a mindset, a fear, whatever thing, or is that a strategy that doesn't work for you? So what can work for you? And then move by doing the hard work.
Okay, so I'm almost going to declare that that's probably the best reframe I've heard for a long time. And it's so simple yet so profound. And what it speaks to is that it's easy to be busy. If you're a founder, there's so many things that you can do. But if you don't have the self-awareness or experience or ability to prioritize the things that actually move the needle, as you say, like, you're never going to make progress. You'll just be busy and you'll feel like that you're actually going backwards and not moving forward. So the hard work are the things that are typically maybe contentious, or you don't know where to start. You don't know what success looks like. Maybe you're scared of failure. The hard work are the things that it could be a tough conversation with a client. It could be a
Or an
tough
employee.
conversation with, yeah, yeah, so many things within that. And as far as I love the hard work piece, for me, I think is also connected to purpose, which I want to explore a little bit further. But if you're able to look at your week, your month, and have some just really simple plan, it doesn't have to be the most complicated Gantt chart in the world that has all precursors. It's a sequence of things that you know will make a difference, or you're actively going into that month thinking about, what do I want to test and learn? How do I become smarter and more effective with my business, etc. It allows you to then go, okay, this is what I'm going to achieve this month. And that's like on a daily basis, weekly basis, however long the time period is. Achieving milestones is also good for personal morale and progress. And getting over the hard work humps of the big things that actually move the needle is even more rewarding. So from that perspective, if you're a founder and you're thinking about, maybe this is a combination of two things: a process on how you think about and understanding what are the hard work things that need to be on your list, and then also from a mindset perspective and mindfulness, if they're the most complicated or intense things, trying to juggle that in, I guess, heavy lifting that your brain needs to be able to do to get through that work. Like, let's start with the process. Is there any things that really simply that people could do to start to think about how they understand the things that will ultimately move the needle?
Yes. I will resume that on one phrase, then I will explain it. Is to move from being the chief everything officer to the chief executive officer. Okay. So when you're chief everything officer, you mean like you're the hands and you're the head of everything that happens. The chief executive officer looks at everything that is done and then see what needs to go next, what needs to be prioritized. One thing that I love doing, probably you've heard about this or you're applying it yourself, is the CEO day. You know, CEO day, CEO midday, CEO hour, whatever you can do, okay? Is putting on your calendar. It could be, and even if you cannot do it yourself, take a mentor, take a coach, whatever, but block this time in your calendar. Okay, block this time in your calendar. Once a week or once a month, you choose, but just do that. When you're not doing, you're not working in your business, you're working on your business. This is the only way for you to make it scale. Otherwise, you don't have a business, you just created yourself another job.
It's the working in versus working on. Again, another way to think about rationalizing as a leader and as a founder, what are the most important things? Because it's easy to fall into the trap of feeling like that you're the only person that can do the work that needs to get done. And then you have two problems. You have the fact that you're working more than you need to, and two, you become a micromanager, so you're not empowering team members to learn and grow. And I've found in my personal experience, even before I had my first startup, that the more that you can spend time training people, etc., empowering them to have a voice, is that has so many positive effects. One, people feel respected and seen and heard, so they're going to be more dedicated and more effective. But two, they continue to grow and challenge you. And I love to be challenged by my staff, like in a constructive way. You don't want someone who's just been a spoilt brat. And being able to speak up and say, like, I've tried this way. This is what my experience was. Maybe we do this, and having an informed point of view. So I think working on your business is working on the people and working on the process and looking at how you prioritize. So like 3 Ps, it's not a framework on the fly. Literally, people, process, and priorities will allow you to work on your business.
Absolutely. And I love that you talk about, people within your business. And I always say to my clients, if you recruit someone to tell them what to do, you will always have people coming to you to ask you what they should do, right? So, and this is the difference. Like if you're all like always the doer, even if you recruit people and you stop being the doer, then they will step up and say, okay, so you don't want me to do it, then tell me what to do. So you will always be the bottleneck of your business. And I was thinking about something else, like a book that I read a long time ago, which is called The Personal MBA. And something that I love in this book is like the organizational chart. And the organizational chart, he was like, even if you're the only person in your business, like use this chart and then put your name on the different roles. And I find it being a very practical thing. On your CEO hour, day, or whatever you call it, one of the things to consider is how my week, what are the roles I'm playing in my week? Where am I in this organizational chart on my week, right? Am I spending 10% on the CEO and 20% on the marketing and 30% on the products? How am I spending my day versus what is the most important function in my business today? And that helps prioritize. Because if you're spending 80% of your day on your products and know your best focus should be on your marketing and sales, then probably there's something to do with your day. So this 1 hour that you will invest working on your business will help you scale faster and be more efficient in the action that you're going to do, because you will move from actions that are not priorities into other actions that are priorities. And having this organigram, I think, is an interesting and practical thing to use in order to move forward with priorities. Because everyone says, oh, you need to do priorities, but like, how do I prioritize? Everything is important. But then when you use frameworks like this, it helps you with the prioritization process.
So good. I know a general partner at a VC firm, and he does it on a micro and a macro level. So at a micro level, he's prioritizing on a weekly basis, but then he also does an annual reflection and he tracks his time and he looks at how he spent his year as a percentage. And then he'll look at it and go, okay, what can I deprioritize? So he would take out something in his week that may open up 4 hours. And for him, he goes, I can then use those 4 hours to meet probably another 10 to 20 startups and drive better deal flow and create more opportunity for my fund. So he's doing it at that level as well. And he's very particular about how he does that. And it takes a bit of time to track it. But then what it does open up is a whole data set that you can then use to sort of make decisions around how your year worked. What were the external factors? What were the internal factors? And how can you reshape the following year to be able to be more effective with how you're spending your time? And that self-awareness and process, I love so much. And sure, you have to invest time to be able to do it. But what you glean from that at the end is so significant.
Yeah, I had once, I mean, it was a prospect and then it became a client. And when we had our first call, he was like, I mean, I would love to work with you, but the problem is like, I don't have 1 hour to spend. I was like, okay, but then if we spend an hour together and then you have gained like 1 or 2 days per week, would you do it? He was like, yes, then we don't have a problem here. And this is what happened for him. Everything that we want to grow, we need to invest in. And we think about our business, let's invest money on our business. let's invest our time in our business. I would want to add to it, let's invest intention into our business and then look at the return on investments.
Great. And I think just setting up a basic experiment for a month, try it out and see what happens. And because it doesn't have to be like absolute either, right? You don't have to make a decision today and say, this is what we do forever until we exit the business. We always need to find the best things that optimizes the type of product you're building, the service, the people that you have. And that's an active, ongoing process. But you need to be able to have a way to objectively assess that removes personal bias and historical information of how you used to do things and be open to change.
Yeah. And this is why, so the book that I mentioned at the beginning of the call is around scaling, right? How to scale your business without burning out. And it is based on the conscious capitalism movement and knowing that those companies, they are 10 times more financially performant than the others. It's the study of this performance is in the book Frames of Endearment. And then I used in this book, I extracted from by analyzing those companies and by talking to people on those companies, the different, the enablers, okay? They are 10 times more financially performant without burning out. Why? What are they different? How? Why? How can we do it as well? So this is what I focused the book on. And what you just mentioned is the adaptability part, right? And in my book, I go into the five levers. I was like, first you scale your mission. And then you attract, then the second one is you attract and retain people who will help you serve this mission. Then you scale yourself as the CEO. He's moving from chief everything officer to chief executive officer, working on your skills, working on your role, working on your mindset. Then you scale your team performance. And this is what you were explaining, they need to grow as well to make sure that your business can grow. You cannot do everything for them. So if you do that, they will not grow. And then the fifth one is the scaled adaptability. And adaptability at scale is being able to take this collective intelligence and reflect on it. So whatever decision you take, if you take the time to reflect on it, then you can move further because and you know that everyone is aligned. So you let them do, they are trained, and then they train you on your specific skills. I'm not going into the details here, but then each person you recruit is probably better than you on a skill. And then if you collectively reflect, and this is why the collective reflection is really important as you scale. So at the beginning, you reflect with yourself, you reflect with your coach, but then when you scale, reflecting with your team, to have a business that is adaptable, and not only you that is adaptable, but all the business is adaptable, for me is one of the key leverage to scaling. And this is what those companies that are 10 times more performant at scale are doing. I'm talking here about Toyota, about Salesforce, about Patagonia. All those companies, they are very adaptable. And in Toyota, I think they use something which goes Wayagai or something like this, which is anyone within your business can come with an idea. All people can come with an idea and then you can try it and implement it and see how it goes. I found that brilliant.
It's so good. And there's a principle, psychological safety. And that's very much anchored in that philosophy, right? Where you create an environment that it doesn't matter if you're an intern or you're the CEO, you have the ability to put forward an idea and it will be respected at the same level. And there's a really good case study with NASA who had, I'm not sure what mission it was, but there was someone who was quite junior at NASA that had flagged an issue and they did all these tests and their data told them that it was fine. And there was an explosion and astronauts died as a result of that. And it started the motion for them to be able to look at how do they take different expertise and years of experience, because it's easy to have your blinkers on. If you're older and have been doing something for a long time, sure, you got lots of experience, but you also bring a lot of bias and historical information that's not current. And I talk about that a lot with people. It's step outside yourself, try and be objective, get lots of information and be happy to be proven wrong. That's okay. You don't have to be 100% right every time. It's actually more important that you're not, because that's where you grow and evolve.
Yeah. And that requires like scaling yourself first, right? In order to scale your business, you have to scale yourself, work on your skills, on your, like, what triggers you? Why do you don't want to listen? Like, what happens within you if you're not willing to listen? Is it ego? Is it something else?
Yeah, and that's hard sometimes because you have to have high conviction as a founder, but you also have to be humble and be able to make progress. And that's probably a whole episode in itself because we're actually coming up to time. So I'm glad that we managed to talk about your book. As far as day to day, I'd love some of the things that you've talked about today. And there's things that I'm going to think about as far as how I plan my week as well off the back of this. And I'd call myself an active student in that I'm always looking to learn and grow. And I am fortunate to have these conversations on a weekly basis with amazing people like yourself. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you or work with you, what sort of things are you doing with your clients at the moment?
So what I'm doing with my clients at the moment is mostly CEO coaching, and it goes with the stage where they are. So it could be building to scaling. We work on a combination of strategy and mindset. We prioritize, we set the intentions, we set the strategies, we set what needs to measure, and then we do it on a regular basis to make sure that things move forward and there is performance without burning out. So I used to be a strategy consultant and like did all the strategy and so on. And I used also to have in my first business work on mindfulness and on helping people not burning out and then manage their stress and so on. But what I find most powerful is be able to do both. So now what I do with people is I understand what is the current issue. Is it a mindset or an energy thing, or is it a strategy thing? And this can change over time. So what I do is like we have regular check-ins and then we make sure that the company performs without the founders burning out by using both methodologies.
And it's so easy to get lost in the noise of what you're doing. So I think having someone like yourself is really important. And as far as connecting with you, I'll of course put details in show notes for the podcast so people can get your email and website and reach out to you. And of course, it will be on LinkedIn so you can connect with me and with Leila on this post. But this has been so good. I am walking away inspired for my week ahead as well, which is great. And should jump off and probably do some hard work. I'm not going to go and work hard. That's going to be my mantra now as well, is I'm going to look at the hard work and be more effective on what I'm doing. So I appreciate that pep talk as well. So Leila, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been special.
Thank you, Andy. It was really a pleasure to be with you here.
You're listening to Startups Decoded. My name is Andy Walsh. We drop episodes every Wednesday. I look forward to having you back. We're had some really good momentum now and having some really fun conversations. So if you're enjoying this, tell your friends, share it, give us some ratings on the platforms. It gives a lot of reach and it's important for us to come back. But look forward to joining you next week.